Happy Tuesday, everyone. This is The Street Live. I'm Jeff Marks, Senior Portfolio Analyst at Action Alerts Plus. I'm standing on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange with Jim Cramer. Jim, we got an interesting day in the markets. The futures were flashing red, and we're seeing them claw back a little bit with tech starting to bounce.
But I think that what will happen is that as you listen to the conference calls, there are issues, say, with ConAgra, with freight, PepsiCo freight. There are issues at Goldman and JPMorgan. Did they run too much into the quarter? So, you're finding nitpicking. PepsiCo was an unbelievable quarter. I wish, we owned that. We had made a lot of money, but that's one that if it comes down, holy cow, just got to be there. I am struck by the fact that we seem to be not immediately trading down on that very, very hot CPI number, because we sure did in May. And it's early in the day, but the CPI number was worrisome.
Let's talk about that CPI number. The price index showed it increased 5.4% in June, hotter than expectations of 5%. Now, you've been in the camp that inflation has been transitory. Right. So do you think that there's any sign, anything in that print that would change your mind there?
Look, 1/3 of it, again, was used cars. And I've talked to all the heads of the auto companies. It's just not yet. They can't produce enough new cars. So that's going to stay up until the semiconductor issue. Freight is very intractable. They can't find enough drivers. Raw costs are coming down, the actual building block numbers. That's very good. So, look, J-PAL cannot create drivers by raising rates. There is the usual drumbeat of people who don't care about the rank and file making as much money, who are saying that Jay ought to slam on the brakes. I think that housing has gotten so expensive in some places that it is slowing. But it bothers me tremendously. You do not get more people created by raising rates. You get more people created by making it so that it's not as easy to sit at home or call a restaurant and say, hey, listen, I want to interview, and then not show. I mean, so there are, people say, well, wait a second, these numbers, the benefits don't matter. I mean, they ought to just go own some businesses. I mean, you don't believe it, but it's like people just don't want to work yet. And I don't blame them, because they're making the equivalent of $22 an hour versus what I can pay them, which is 18. So economically, they are making a reasonable decision. And don't forget, there are parts of this country where they're giving away COVID, not giving away vaccines. And if you want to work at those places and you haven't gotten vaccinated, well, you're taking your life in your hands. I know the death rate is not so high, but believe me, you're going to see that go up too. That's going to go up.
All right, now before we get into all the big earning reports of the day, you did take to Twitter this morning to call out a couple of stocks that are on the move. But they look like pump and dump schemes to you.
I say they look like pump and dump. So let's be very specific, because this is a very serious charge that I'm making. You'll see a stock, say, which has, I'm not going to mention them because they're too small. For going forward, I can't, because it's just I created too much volatility in them by mentioning them. But what happens is there'll be a stock that has 5 million shares. Let's use XYZ, has 5 million shares. It will trade day one 50 million shares. 50 million shares. So there's going to be some big shorts there, okay? Because otherwise, how can you get 50 million shares? People short it, and or even alternatively, obviously someone's buying too many shares. So that's a good base for a short squeeze. The next day they have a short squeeze, and they pound the stock, and the stock goes up 6. So you have a $5 stock that doubles to 11. And then the people who bought it at 5 have they unload it. So they bought it at 5 on Monday, and then they sell it at 11 on Tuesday. That's a pump and dump because there's nothing happening at the company. So I would just be very aware when you get involved with a situation where you see the volume at 10 times or even 5 times the number of shares that can trade. Recognize that you are either, if the stock's unchanged, at the beginning of the pump and dump, and I don't want you to be in it because I don't like these things, or if it's the second day near the end of the pump and dump. So be very careful. And this has been going on, and it is just, go to my Twitter file. I have the stocks that they're doing it today. And every day I'm going to reveal the stocks that they're doing it, because I'm going to keep doing it until Chairman Gary Gensler says enough is enough.
I was going to say, you recently did a white plate special of all the items that Gary Gensler, the new SEC chair, needs to tackle in his early days as SEC. So is this type of gamification one area?
This is gamification. This is classic gamification. I also, it's time to step away from letting the Chinese do it. I have a piece in Real Money today that basically says our president seems uniquely unaware about how grave the situation is, and we got to fight back.
All right, let's talk about earnings. We heard from some of the big banks today, JPMorgan, Goldman Sachs, both blew out expectations. JPMorgan, now some of that was related to loan loss, but Goldman Sachs, it was the IB business, very strong. Yeah, both stocks are slipping a bit today. So why do you think that is?
So let's go back. Let's rewind the tape to Thursday. Take JPMorgan. JPMorgan's at 150. Okay. They're going to report next week. Stock's down badly. Then Friday, it goes up gigantically. Monday, it goes up gigantically. Now it's still well above where it was Thursday. So a win is a win in that sense. It's an ugly win. Goldman is a buy. All right. Now, Goldman, the window opens for people to sell over the next 3 days. So if you agree with me that it's a buy, wait 2 more days.
The window being that's when
they let you sell. And remember, these people are paid in stock. They've got a lot of stock. It's no sin when you sell stock, when you're paid in stock, and that's the window they allow because everybody knows everything. But it was a great quarter for Goldman. They are no longer the ne'er-do-well of the group.
Just thinking about the banks in general, can you recall any other sector that just tends, if it does rise into the print, you just see them sell off on the news as much times as these banks do? It's quite fascinating.
I said that in Real Money yesterday, buy them and then sell them at the close because it's now etched in stone what happens, with the exception of Morgan Stanley.
All right, now let's talk about Pepsi, too. They were one of the big standouts this morning. Comparable sales up, I think it was over 12%. They raised expectations for the full year to 6% comparable growth.
6%, I got to tell you. So Raymond LaGuardia takes over the company. It was a 4% grower, organic grower. That's all it was. He tells me it's going to be 5 at the Super Bowl. Tampa Bay won, Chiefs, right before the pandemic. And I say, how can you take it to 5? I mean, now come on. He goes, I will get it to 5. He got it to 6. Now, I mean, some of it is because the convenience store numbers are back, all right, because people are driving again. But it's Gatorade. It's Frito-Lay aisle expansion. It is Mountain Dew. I mean, he's now speaking about Mountain Dew the way I was always hoping to speak Mountain Dew, which is that it is doing fabulously. It is the drink for people who want to rev up, in the same way that Gatorade is a drink for rev up. By the way, the Diet Gatorade, I don't really care for the taste of Diet Gatorade. It's doing incredibly.
Yeah, but not all packaged food stocks are created equal, right? We are seeing some weakness in Conagra today.
They can't lift price. And they actually cut a forecast, 0. They're saying 0 organic. And I look at the brands of Conagra, and I always felt they would catch up with them. I mean, these are brands that I would argue as second-tier brands. What you don't want is, are they like second-tier malls where there's only, are they B malls where there's only A? That's what I'm working on today because I know that they boosted the dividend, but that was just not a great quarter at all.
All right, now let's move on to some healthcare and some pharma stocks. Now, it's an interesting group. They have been making a nice move recently. You took to Twitter recently, talked about, and you highlighted AbbVie as a stock. It's an Action Alerts Plus name, made a new 52-week high yesterday. What do you think is going on here?
Okay, so I know Glaxo started going up like this, and then it turned out there was an activist. Now, yes. Right, yeah. Now, every time I say that something's going on at AbbVie, people say, well, of course, Jim, interest rates went down and AbbVie's got a good yield. Now, before this, people thought that the dividend wasn't safe because of Humira expiration. Here's what I think is interesting. And I've worked on this for a number of days. The destruction of Allergan, of the value of Allergan, is extraordinary. They've done absolutely nothing with Allergan, including some incredible drugs, like Kybella, an incredible drug. They've done very little with the CGRP, Ubrelvy, their migraine drug. In the meantime, Biohaven had to pre-announce how great theirs is, Nurtec. Nurtec is crushing. Now look, Biohaven is a tiny company, and it is crushing AbbVie. Are very disappointing. So I start thinking, this CEO, not liked. Maybe something's going on.
Yeah, that's interesting. And we know that the FDA has put on hold some approvals for some indications on Rinvoq, too, largely due to what's happening with Pfizer and Xeljanz.
But what I think's really happening is that I don't think this team is liked by the FDA. So I think Rinvoq, they just see, well, wait a second, they're just trying to not have a patent cliff. You know, some people think that Pfizer, by the way, is saying the booster because they need 2022 to be good. I don't know. I'll take a booster is the way I look at it. But AbbVie's going up unnaturally, and it's not because of the yield. Something else is going on. I just smell it.
So what do you do with AbbVie then? Do you just hold it and let's see what happens?
I mean, AbbVie, look, you do have the yield. Let's say I'm wrong. Let's say it's really about the dividend. Okay, well then it's going to go to 125 before it's Merck and Bristol Myers.
Yeah, and let's remember when AbbVie did acquire Allergan, part of the highlights of that deal was they were going to be one of the largest free cash flow generators in the industry. So that does support that hefty 4.4% div.
Absolutely, but I just think Allergan was a gem, and I don't see the gem anymore. And I question that management. I think that management has to get more active at their job.
All right, now
Boeing. Oh my God!
All right, let's talk about Boeing. So today they announced second quarter deliveries, but they also announced a temporary reduction in 787 production numbers. Now it's largely due to they have to fix some issues with some undelivered inventories. It's just another step back for Boeing. What do you think?
They're not going to have the deliveries that we want. I'm worried about the cash flow. I've been saying, there was someone on Twitter. I look at my mentions column periodically. Someone was saying, I thought you loved Boeing. Let me be very specific about Boeing. I like Boeing very much. It's an opening trade. We own it for action alerts. But I've said, if you are a new member, wait till the quarter. Now, that doesn't mean I hate it. There are a lot of people who don't understand what I do, which is why I say, well, join the club. We explain it endlessly so that you understand that I am saying don't sell Boeing and then try to get back in. That's too hard. And if they don't do an equity offering, then that means their balance sheet is stronger than I think.
Well, you did say when the stock popped on that China rumor that China would be open to potentially doing some test flights. You said that would actually represent a nice selling opportunity that news.
Look, we're not
that was a higher price.
We're not even talking. I got this confirmed last night. We're not even talking to the Chinese. Our governments aren't talking. So are you telling me that they're talking to Boeing? I mean, President Xi has made it really clear. He's not funding Boeing, okay? Now, in the end, yes, everyone needs Boeing planes. Everybody. But the guys who really need Boeing planes are Boeing. They need sales. And they need to have that CEO, Calhoun, go to the factory floor and start inspiring these workers. This is one of those situations where you have to be a player coach. You got to be in there. You got to be doing things. And I think that he is removed from the day-to-day. And there's no time to be removed from the day-to-day, not with all these problems. So I am very disappointed in Boeing. I'm extremely disappointed.
All right, before we end the show today, let's do a little bit of a trading strategy type bit. Yesterday, you talked about how sometimes the futures market, when they are flashing red on little news, it can be a head fake sometime. So how would you say is the best way to capitalize on that type of discrepancy?
You look for when there are recommendations or price target boosts. And you've got to, and if you have 2 price target boosts, that's equal to 1 buy recommendation. If those stocks open below or flat, you buy them. But you buy half a position, because if the market turns around like I say it will, because there's a lot of momentum into the market, you will make money. You will make money.
All right, that's
by the way, I just want to mention,
yes.
I'm doing some work, and this is me to you, too. I watch Brian Sullivan every morning, and there's this guy from Palisades who is so good. Dan Verum, and anyway, he was saying Centene, and Centene's all-time high right now. But I do feel that we own drug stocks, and that it's going to be managed care that does better than drugs. Centene is Medicare, Medicaid. It is made its last acquisition, which is Magellan, which is for mental health. And Michael Neidorff told me on Mad Money that he's done. That's the last acquisition, and now he's going to use the cash flow to buy back stock furiously. I'm waiting for it to come in, but I'm thinking about saying maybe we have to add this thing to the bullpen, because we do not have enough of that side we got Bristol Myers.
We got pharma, but we
have
were
pharma,
just talking,
but
there's not much going on there.
No,
Yeah.
and does that
Had
mean
a nice hit on Eli Lilly though earlier?
that was
this year.
great, that hit on Eli Lilly? But I think that we have to be. This is Medicare, Medicaid is going to be expanded. Do well, and Centene's the way to do it. So I just pointed out that, sometimes you watch TV, and there's a guy you really like who comes on, and he says something. You say, "Yeah, that makes sense. Centene makes sense. CNC."
All right, that's the show for today. I'm Jeff Marks. We'll see you tomorrow.